Welcome to this presentation about Aleister Crowley. I have taken this from a paper by Bogdan, who is a specialist of Aleister Crowley. The paper is entitled Esoteric Practiced Ritual and Performance from 2016. Bogdan is a specialist, a Crowley specialist, so it will be interesting to see how he summarizes his research into Crowley, the great and controversial Crowley, controversial anti-legomenos. I'm in Greece and I like to work on my Greek, so I've written down some words in Greek. It's actually appropriate since Crowley himself, the key term for his philosophy is thelema, as you can see here. It is from ancient Greek. Let me read now Crowley. One telling example of the merging of magic with initiation is the British occultist Aleister Crowley. Died in 1947. Crowley stands out as the most influential and also most controversial anti-legomenos magician of the 20th century. Provocatively identify himself with the great beast 666. Crowley sought to shock his contemporaries. With the aim of liberating mankind from what he saw as the repressive and superstitious system of Christianity. He saw himself as the prophet of a new religion, thelema with the modern Greek pronunciation, thelema, meaning will in Greek, which he believed would set the individual free. Liberty. I apologize for my laughing. I incorporate some laughter of exercises into this presentation because we need more laughter, even though serious scholarship. It facilitates understanding. Laughter facilitates understanding. So please laugh with me. Ha, hey, ho. So Crowley. Let's continue with Crowley. Central to Crowley's religious system is the practice of magic, or magic as she preferred to spell it, that is with a capital M and CK in the final two letters, CK, as she preferred to spell it, to distinguish it from earlier superstitious forms of magic. To Crowley, magic was to be based on scientific premises, to be objective, antikimenico objective, and verifiable, vevaiomenos. Crowley regarded every intentional act as an act of magic. So every intentional act, ek protheseos praxi, that is act out of intention. Praxi, act out of intention, ek protheseos. Crowley regarded every intentional act as an act of magic, as famously defined in his magnum opus, Magic in Theory and Practice. Magic is the science of an art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Illustration. It is my will to inform the world of certain facts within my knowledge. I therefore take magical weapons, pen, ink and paper. I write incantations. These sentences in the magical language, that which is understood by the people I wish to instruct. I call for spirits, such as printers, publishers, booksellers, and so forth, and constrain them to convey my message to those people. The composition and distribution of this book is thus an act of magic, by which I cause change to take place in conformity with my will. Crowley, 1930. The central point in Crowley's definition is the importance attributed to the will, thelema, or thelima. Only the acts based on the will of the practitioner can be considered acts of magic. Furthermore, only acts that are carried out in accordance with the true will can be seen as lawful forms of magic. And the first task of the apprentice is to train the mind through mystical techniques. Crowley recommended Indic yogic practices and to perform magical ceremonies aimed at reaching knowledge of one's true will, symbolized by a mystical experience called knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel. Although the notion of a holy guardian angel has a long history in Western esotericism, it was a concept that Crowley had encountered within the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where a conscious identification with the holy guardian angel of divine genius was believed to take place in the Adeptus Minor Decree, the first decree of Golden Dawn's inner order. The divine genius that the members of the Golden Dawn sought to unite with was referred to by different names, such as the higher self or the daimon, but perhaps most commonly as the holy guardian angel. Although occultists differ in how the divine genius is interpreted, the basic idea is that it constitutes a divine aspect in how people that the profane or unenlightened person is not aware of. This idea can be found in Gnosticism of late antiquity, and the belief that man's soul is a spark of the divine Godhead, that through a primordial fall has been entrapped in the material world. The goal of the Gnostic was to free the divine aspect in a person and to reunite with its divine source. In a similar manner, the occultist sees the divine genius as the microcosmic counterpart of the macrocosmic Godhead, and the goal is to reach a conscious awareness of or union with the divine genius. This union is often referred to as the knowledge of and conversation with the holy guardian angel, with the secular and physiological interpretations of the occult During the first half of the 20th century, the divine genius or holy guardian angel was increasingly seen as an aspect of man's psyche. To Crowley, the holy guardian angel was nothing but the unconscious aspect of the mind, and consequently the object of his magical system was to become conscious of the unconscious. Crowley's statement that magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will is the best known emic definition of magic, and can be detected in numerous later insider definitions, such as the mystic Dion Fortune's magic is the act of changing consciousness according to will. The Wiccan Gerald Gardner's quote, magic is attempting to cause the physically unusual, end quote. And the Satanist Antoine LaVey's magic is the change in situations or events in accordance with one's will, which would, using normally acceptable methods, be unchangeable. What about sex? Oh, sex. Magic has always been linked with sexual practices. During the witch trials in early modern Europe and the Salem witchcraft trial in colonial Massachusetts, the charges of the practice of magic and witchcraft were entwined with charges of illicit sexual acts. Many believe that the sexual rites featured in Stanley Kubrick's film Eyes Wide Shut, Eyes 1999 actually describe rites performed by contemporary esoteric societies, such as Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis. Although there is nothing to suggest that this was true, sex has often been combined with magic, particularly from the 19th century onward. Magicians like the Afro-American author Pascal Beverly Randolph, died 1875, and Aleister Crowley saw the sexual act as something sacred, as a powerful aid in the practice of magic. Urban argues that sexual magic should not be understood as a reaction against modernity, but as an expression of key aspects of modernity. First, it puts emphasis on the individual self and the power of the individual. Second, it is presented as the ultimate secret key to the hidden aspects of the human being, and thus as a means to experience one's full potential. Third, it is presented as a science and should be performed in a scientific manner. And fourth, the propagators of sexual magic seek sexual, religious and political liberation. For Crowley, the sex force was a powerful aid in magical rituals, to use to gain money, gain inspiration to write, or invoke ancient deities. Crowley would concentrate his will on a particular object, such as inspiration to write poetry and create mental images that would stimulate the ecstatic nature of the ritual. For instance, he would imagine showers of gold pouring over him at the moment of orgasm. The ritual's whose aim was to raise money. Let's see. The mental state had to be energized or charged with an ecstatic feeling or energy that Crowley connected to sexual energy. Another example of sexual magic can be found in the modern witchcraft movement as developed by Gerald Gardner, who had been a member of Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis for a brief period in the 1940s. Gardner's witchcraft centered on the recreation of a pagan fertility cult that owed much to of its symbols and trappings to Crowley. And other forms of magic, such as the well-known grimoire, the Key of Solomon the King, in its most basic form. Gardner's witchcraft of Wicca celebrated the male and female energies, believed to be found both in nature and in the human being, very much as depicted in the hugely successful The Wicker Man, in its organized form. Gardner's Wicca consisted of 3 degrees modeled on the 3 craft degrees of Freemasonry. Let me rest here. In that it included the great rite, a sexual union between the high priestess and the male candidate. If the candidate was female, she would engage in a sexual act with the high priest. Although the surviving evidence suggests that the sexual act was often carried out only symbolically, it is a good example of how rituals spread and change over time. So that is the end. Then comes some summary. So this was what Bogdan writes in this article from 2016, Esoterism, Practiced, Ritual and Performance. So this is actually the very first article or paper or something written. This is my first experience with Crowley in written form, in academic paper or any other form. And this is all more or less new stuff for me. With this Amphilikomenos controversial magician. It is fun that he identified himself with 666. With 6. No, we shouldn't be joking about that, but it's still very controversial and shocking. Shocking. So Crowley's focus was the intentional act. and there is this mystical experience called knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel. So the holy guardian angel was the unconscious aspect of the mind, and Crowley's aim was to make you conscious of the unconscious. Magic, the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. And you, dear listener or viewer, what do you think about Crowley? Do you like him or you dislike him? Since it's my first experience with Crowley, I will try with some white magic here, if you stand out with me. So today is April the 16th, so this is a historic date for me, since it's my first experience with is April 16th, 2005, and so I will therefore I wanted to remember this moment, my first experience with Crowley. Of course, it's not easy to give justice to Crowley in a paper of 2 pages. And what I will do is now to use this therapy with help of angels by Dora Virtue to give a message. I want a message about Crowley now. When I shuffle these cards, I will shuffle them with my right hand, my non-dominant hand. I'm a lefty. So give me a moment. I take them out. I wasn't really prepared for this, but I think at the spur of the moment I wanted to try about the spiritual realm. So I want a message about Crowley, if possible. Please, so what is the message about Crowley? So I shuffle them. Please give me a message about Crowley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now this will be the answer. Αυτοαποδοχή. Αυτοαποδοχή. It means self-acceptance. Αυτοαποδοχή, self-acceptance. I have received this card one time earlier. It was on April the 1st. Self-acceptance. And the meaning of the card, the message is you are a perfect child of God. And every part of you is excellent. The angels will guide you to abandon negative self-criticism. And may you enjoy the thing that you are. Absolutely, I think this is very appropriate message about Crowley, and I think αυτοαποδοχή. Αυτοαποδοχή, accent on the last. Αυτο. Αποδοχή means acceptance. Αποδοχή means acceptance, and when you add αυτό, it means self-acceptance. Do you think it's a good way to describe Crowley? Of course, the message that you are a perfect child of God is very I think Crowley would have agreed with that. Don't think. Tilly or Beatty to the perfect shadow card, and every part of you is excellent. Absolutely, I think it's a beautiful message about Crowley. So I say I am grateful, very grateful, always grateful. And I think that actually also applies to Crowley. Before I forget, self-acceptance that Crowley was also a perfect shadow card. Yes, and that he saw himself as 66 is a provocatory act, but he was a perfect shadow card. Thank you very much.